I started out to write how Pakistan negotiates with the United States, partly for personal reasons. Pakistan was the first place in South Asia where I ever served as a diplomat. It was my introduction to the region, and I have a son born there. But professionally, it's also a fascinating subject. We subtitled the book, Riding the Roller Coaster, because relations between the United States and Pakistan have been a roller coaster.
America's interest in Pakistan really dates back to the 1950s, and it's always been linked with Pakistan's geographical position. You consider that the 3 times we went into close relations with Pakistan were dictated not by any intrinsic interest in Pakistan itself. We have had limited economic connections. We have had very limited cultural connections. There hasn't been a significant Pakistani-American population. But in each of these 3 cases, geography was dominant. In the 1950s, we went into an alliance with Pakistan because we valued Pakistan's position on what was called the soft underbelly of the Soviet Union, and saw Pakistan as a country which could help us in our major Cold War objective, which was the containment of communist power. Then later, we entered into, you could call it the second marriage, when the Soviets invaded Afghanistan. Again, an issue of geography because Pakistan was next to Afghanistan. And then finally, after 9/11, we established a relationship with Pakistan because we saw Pakistan as a vital link in our efforts to force out al-Qaeda and the Taliban and establish a non-threatening government in Afghanistan.
So if you look at the present time, when Pakistan is working with the United States on the war in Afghanistan, what Pakistan is really looking for is a government in Afghanistan that will not have any Indian influence. What the United States is really looking for is an end of al-Qaeda influence. These two aren't necessarily incompatible, but the priority is very different. And so we expect that this gap between U.S. and Pakistani objectives will be increasingly complex to manage.
From the beginning, Pakistan has been interested in drawing the United States into its conflict with India. And the reason for that is that Pakistan sees India as a threatening force, as the larger of the 2 countries, by far the more powerful. And under those circumstances, Pakistan has looked to the United States as an equalizer, so that the United States can provide the security, can provide the weapons, and provide the diplomatic support that Pakistan needs to confront the Indian threat.
The United States sometimes seems to convey that Pakistan is only important because of Afghanistan and not for its own sake. Most countries would take offense at that, and Pakistan certainly does. There's so much one could say about the impact of culture on Pakistan's negotiating style, but I think there are 2 things I'd like to really bring out. One is it's all personal. It's so important to have a personal relationship. The second cultural feature that is really important is that Pakistani culture has a network of embedded obligations that work both up and down the line. And in the same fashion, Pakistanis, in negotiating with the United States, a much more powerful country, have perfected the art of creating a sense of obligation on the part of Americans. This is something that Americans haven't always been very successful in managing.
We tend, as American diplomats and American businessmen, to be in a tearing hurry. We don't have the same interest as the Pakistanis do in developing personal relationships. For the Pakistanis, personal contacts are so important, but we tend to disregard them.
How Pakistan negotiates with the United States argues that we need to be frank in a way that Americans are frank and Pakistanis aren't always frank, but to walk a fine line between frankness and wounding, or as they would see it, dishonoring the national sentiments of an ally that has great national pride. I think this book has a lot to tell officials who are going to be negotiating with Pakistan. It has a lot to tell people who are interested in the region and want to understand how Pakistanis approach their complicated relationship with one of their major partners. I think it's probably going to be controversial in Pakistan, but it has something to tell Pakistanis about how they are seen by the United States. We talked to enormous numbers of Pakistani officials and just friends of ours in the course of writing it. We learned so much from them, and I hope we've been able to convey that.